Start this shit. The Project X effect. What does that mean?
What was the greatest night of your life?
Like Ken Carson
If
album?
you are over
No, I'm
21,
playing.
it
The
could
movie?
be the night you met your partner, the night you had your first child, or some other mature and understandable life moment. If you are under 21, it was probably the night you went to the craziest house party with unlimited drinks, girls going wild, the perfect music playing, a car crashing into the pool, the SWAT team pulling up with a helicopter watching from above, then nearly the
Might I
entire
be calling
town
you
catching
old far on the
fire.
stream?
Okay,
So I
caught
looked
me.
you up.
I just described the plot of Project
That's
X.
how I'm getting
It was just
publicity
a movie.
from niggas
That
hating on
didn't
me.
actually
That shit is
happen,
crazy.
except it did.
That nigga eat
Story of
gazelles
how
and giraffes.
life
He worried about the
imitates
wrong
Hollywood
thing.
with disastrous results. It's a wildly popular movie about an out-of-control teen party full of boozing, drugs, and big-ticket destruction. The movie characters
No, Project X is a good-ass movie. I definitely recommend that
real-life
bitch.
teens copying these parties this spring break, the consequences are far more serious.
After the movie Project X released, it inspired chaos all
How you
around
doing,
the
though?
world, leading to some of the most out-of-control and occasionally deadly parties. Still to this
Oh
day,
my
young
goodness.
people attempt to live this fantasy by throwing Project X parties.
I heard they're
And to
making a
understand
Project
the
X
deep-seated
sequel.
obsession American teens have with
Oh
this
my
film,
God.
we must first
Every time I see this cover, I'm not just thinking of Ken Carson. Chilling this Issa. By the way, I'm bored as fuck. I literally knew it, bro. Ken Carson did it better? Question mark. No, that's different. Right?
analyze the four-step
Stream,
process
bitch-ass
that
boy.
Project X took to manipulate their strategy on the big screen. The number one goal of this film was very simple.
We knew from the beginning that it had to feel like a real party.
He can make something that seems so outrageous feel very real.
It's just fun. It's just so different. And the way it's shot, you know, the point of view style is just, it's very organic.
Organic, natural, realistic.
These niggas are like
This is supposed to be every party
the,
that every kid would want to throw if
the
they
Walmart
have
version of
the most
Superbad.
amount of money possible. He's just really got a good.
What the fuck you gotta do that you gonna leave me stream?
Of reality.
It makes it more, you know, viable and more relevant that this party could occur and could happen like this.
I don't think anyone will watch this movie and say that did not feel like a real party.
Make the film feel real. Step 1. Hire an all-star production team. Joel Silver,
Why not
executive
watch them right
producer,
now? What
also
the fuck?
produced Die Hard and The Matrix. Marty Ewing, executive producer, also produced Blades of Glory and Holes. Todd Phillips, producer, basically worked on tons of legendary party movies of the early 2000s like Road Trip, Old School, and The Hangover. But another creative
Oh my
touch was
goodness,
hiring
these niggas
director
are
Nima
crazy.
Nurezada, who had no feature film experience but created an iconic Adidas house party commercial in 2008 that looks exactly like what Project X would become. Nima's area of expertise was actually in music videos. Since the music and chaotic party scenes became such a memorable part of the movie, it makes sense that an experienced music video director was the reason why they looked and felt so damn good. Despite everyone behind the scenes
They
being
edit some videos,
seasoned
but nigga.
cinema veterans, on
Corner
screen
cam.
they wanted the cast to be nobodies. But before we get into step 2, a quick word from today's sponsor. Bespoke Post is a monthly
Watch out, Pat. Shout out you though. If y'all fuck with Pat, man, use that code, bro.
and enter Patrick Gift at checkout or go to
Body rock,
bespokepost.com/Patrick
girl, I
Gift.
can make
Step
your
2.
body rock.
Hire
This
a
nigga got
relatable cast.
this nigga got Microsoft
Casting
Edge
no-name
open,
talent was
Opera
risky,
GX
as we
open,
all
and he
know.
going between the
Hiring
accounts.
A-list
Type,
actors
this
is
nigga's
one
a
of the
loser.
most effective ways to market a movie.
Edit the video.
However, there is a slight barrier with famous actors where their characters are hard to separate from their real-life personality or from a previous role that you always associate them with. The
True.
fact that nobody knew the cast was what allowed viewers to feel like they were just some teenagers with a camera. The three main characters in Project X look like your regular, unspectacular high school kids.
I'm
They
telling you,
aren't
this is like a
necessarily nerds, but rather
Superbad
anonymous,
knockoff.
almost invisible. That's what makes them feel so relatable.
Got Michael Cera
They
in the
sort of
middle,
blend in,
Jonah Hill on the
just
right,
like most of
and
the
the
people
dude
you
who
went
played
to high
McLovin
school
on the left. I always
with. Even
forget
the
his
high
name.
school they filmed in is
No
depressing,
offense.
outdated, and prison-like, which is extremely accurate to American schools. To find inexperienced actors, the casting directors created open auditions on the website projectxopencall.com. The header on the website let people know the movie was created by the same producer as The Hangover, which was a $277 million box office smash
Damn,
hit.
this
People
opportunity
were
is
asked
crazy.
to submit a 3-minute audition video with the following guidelines. Tell us your most embarrassing story. Tell us your craziest party story. Tell us about your riskiest or most daring thing you've ever done. If you wanted to impress
Take
someone
Pro
at a
Gamer
club,
out your
show
shit.
us how you would dance.
I'll take
Show
Pro Gamer out my shit if you could beat me in 3 games that cost money that I play.
us the one thing that you do that makes your friends laugh. After sifting through tens of thousands of submissions, they were able to discover one of their leads, Jonathan Daniel Brown, otherwise known as JB. The other 2 leads, Thomas Mann and Oliver Cooper, were
They say
found
you
through
better than him.
traditional
This nigga is
casting.
glazing himself into lies. That's the funny thing. He's talking to himself, 2 accounts, and he's lying to himself at that point. This nigga can't name, like I say, name 3 games that you could beat me in that cost money. I think he's gonna say Demon Slayer, and then that's it.
Thomas had acted in 1 movie previously, and Oliver had no previous acting experience, which is surprising because many people felt that his performance carried the energy throughout the film.
Yeah, BRB.
What up,
That's
my
what I
lovely
thought.
females? This is your boy Costa.
He kind of look like Shia LaBeouf in the face.
Behind me is Thomas Cub's house. Today is Thomas Cub's birthday, and this is Project X.
It's also worth mentioning that the trio does
What did I
kind
say?
of resemble the cast of Superbad, not just the way they looked, but even their characteristics. This was likely intentional as well. As mentioned before, these actors were no names in Hollywood, so casting people that looked or felt like the Superbad crew, which was made just a few years before and already secured a legacy as one of the most
Bro.
accurate depictions of high school Americans in cinema, was definitely a big brain decision. There also was a 4th member of the crew. His name was Dax, otherwise known as Dax Flame on YouTube. Another possible marketing strategy, as Dax had a large subscriber base of likely the target audience for this film. Plus, his character ties perfectly into Step 3. Step 3. Film like an amateur. Dax was the man behind the camera. In the beginning of the movie, you learn that he is filming a home video of this party they're throwing for Thomas's birthday.
I don't know what those ratings mean. The Rotten Tomatoes. Let me see. We at 704.
His name was Dax, otherwise known. His name was Dax. It's definitely a big brain decision.
The one on the left is what critics give. So people who go to the movies to hate, if they give you an 88%, you did good, and 87 is what the audience thinks.
He transitions
That's
between
like
scenes
out of
or
think about it
characters
like
not
out of
being
5
perfectly in
stars.
the frame,
An
or the
88%
quality and
would be
focus of the
close to
footage
a
varying in every
4.5.
shot. It helps
Little bit
sell
more.
the idea that this entire thing is just a home video. Dax was also a bit of an amateur filmmaker in real life, adding another layer of authenticity. This film style is commonly referred to as found footage, which created perhaps the most realistic component of all. Some of the footage that made it into the film was just one of the random extras holding a phone and filming what was going on. The production crew passed out camera phones, Blackberries, and handycams to the partygoers. Their vision being if a party this wild actually happened, many of the attendees would pull out their phones and film the chaos. The
Facts.
production crew thought it would be extremely difficult to manage this many extras. With 200 to 500 people showing up daily, how would they track the phones? How would they make sure the same people are coming back every night? But they saw the opposite result. The extras were extremely cooperative and didn't even want to leave. Keep in mind, this movie was filmed for 25 nights in a row, and they
Damn.
didn't just stage a party. They were partying. There technically was no downtime. While the production team was organizing the next scene, they still had a DJ playing music. People were dancing, swimming in the pool for 25 days. Again, some of the footage
Holy
you see in
shit,
the
a
film
month
wasn't
of
even
partying?
staged. It was just the extras filming themselves actually partying. And what is a party without the music? Step 4. Create the perfect soundtrack. The first song you hear in the movie is We Want Some Party by 2 Live Crew.
What the
Does it get
fuck?
any more lit than that? This film is jam-packed full of music. It basically never stops because, well, when does music ever stop at a party? The music supervisor hired for this film was Gabe Hilfer, who creates soundtracks on roughly 5 to 7 major films every year. He's an expert, so when they told him the goal was to make it realistic, he executed perfectly. When he was asked about his vision for the soundtrack, he mentioned 2 major goals. One was to keep it authentic and make it feel like what these kids might really be listening to. And then 2 was to escalate the party and get into the heads of the kids and bridge the gaps between what they're listening to and the
this is a
emotional
good-ass
feelings you're
film, then.
looking to have the audience feel as well. However, it's not exactly a versatile soundtrack. It's mostly hip-hop bangers that were released in the early 2010s like Trouble on My Mind by Pusha T and Blow Up by J. Cole, mixed in with
Hold on, I need
classics
to
like
listen
The
to that
Next
song. I don't
Episode by
remember.
Dre and Snoop, as well as Nasty by Nas. But there are 2 EDM remixes that have been cemented in history as the Songs of Project X. Any party that exists existed after this film was released
Nigga
would
playing
not be
oomps
complete
music
if
right
these
now.
two songs were not played. Pursuit of Happiness, the Steve Aoki remix, and Heads Will Roll, the A-Track remix. These songs were strategically placed at a moment where the producers wanted to fully immerse the viewer into the climax of the night. At these moments, the plot doesn't matter. There is no dialogue. You're basically just watching a music video. These songs would go on to represent
Imagine
when your
they
buzz
say
is
this, but I
perfect,
feel like
or
this
your
movie
highs
won't
in
be
the
as
manageable
immaculate as
sweet
they
spot.
saying.
The Heads Will Roll remix helped put DJ and
say that,
producer
but
A-Track
watch
in
the
the
movie, bruh.
spotlight. He
It's a good-ass
immediately
film.
started booking larger venues and tours. Funny enough, he never made any money from the song.
That Project X money must have stayed for.
Oh no, I make nothing on Heads Will Roll. That's a flat fee, remix fee. I got paid a very small amount in 2009.
You know, how many shows did he get on?
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it would be nice because I heard it's triple platinum.
After this calculated four-step process
I'm gonna
making
try
this
to.
film feel as real as possible, it released in March of 2012 and was a certified
yeah,
smash
the
hit,
movie
grossing
is made in
$100 million
2012, so
worldwide.
the way
Critics
it's-
pretty much universally hated the movie,
See,
with
look,
publications
left
like
side is
NPR
critics
calling it
hating,
a
the other one
nasty,
is-
nasty piece of work.
well, the critics
However, there
rating
was a
and
point
the
brought up
audience
by
on
many
right.
critics that was definitely true, and they kind of predicted the future. Todd McCarthy from The Hollywood Reporter wrote, "The wrap-up does not spare the boys, and Thomas in particular, of life-changing consequences for their delinquency, but a certain self-justifying feel-good impulse compels the filmmakers to
But I think the
imply that
reason
even
why
if they
this
do
film
nothing
gets so much
further
love
of
is the
note in their
cultural
lives,
impact it
they'll
has.
always have this." And Patrick Gamble from Cineview had a very similar opinion. What's most repugnant about Project X is its utter lack of moral consciousness, with the overriding message being that such disregard for property and community deserves little more than a slap on the wrist. At first glance, these reviews come off as old people yelling at teenagers for having fun, but they are accurate here. After the SWAT team comes in, the town catches on fire, and everyone escapes the party running for their lives, the trio get abundant news coverage, become legends at their high school, resulting in a standing ovation from classmates. Thomas is still able to get the girl that loves him, and they showed just a quick still of the consequences he faced, which were disturbing the peace, contributing to the delinquency of minors, and inciting a riot. Despite this, Costa is invited onto the news to promote his next party.
Would you like to apologize? I got a better idea. How about I invite you to my next party? What? Yeah, you heard me, sugar.
So is it crazy to think that a movie depicting in the most realistic way possible an epic party where the host ends up as a legend who gets the girl and a little slap on the wrist would inspire teenagers all around the world to do the same thing? If you said no, it's just a movie and everyone knows it's fake, you'd be wrong. It didn't happen once,
see?
not twice, but so many times I can't even tell you about all of them in this video. But here are some of the craziest ones. Now, it's been widely speculated that
Project X got this kind of influence, dude. Kid Carson made a fucking album after it. Young Nudie recorded a song.
But the speculation
after it. Like,
has actually been denied by the producers and cast.
Because it's based on real people, like that Aussie guy, that Corey Worthington.
Not really. I mean, it's kind of.
No, this
This
is really.
was.
I mean,
This is different.
On January 12th, 2008, Corey Worthington learned his parents were going on vacation to celebrate the new year, so he hatched a plan to throw a party while he had the house to himself. Corey and his friends started to advertise the party on their MySpace and Facebook when the word spread like wildfire. The party was meant to be a small gathering, but soon turned into a full-blown rager. More than 500 people showed up, and the crowd was so large the party spilled out into the street. The crowd got out of control, and people started to throw glass and bricks and break neighbors' mailboxes. There were hundreds of kids causing destruction for no reason. The first police unit backed off until they were reinforced by a helicopter, dogs, and more well-equipped officers. After a few hours, police finally got the crowd to disperse. This made national headlines in Australia, but what made it so iconic was Corey's image and attitude when being interviewed on A Current Affair Australia.
Take off your glasses and apologize to us.
I'll say sorry, but I'm not taking off my glasses.
But what would you say to other kids who were thinking of partying when their parents are out of town?
Get me to do it for you.
Get you to do it for you. Not don't do it.
Nah, get me to do it for you. Best party ever so far. That's what everyone's been saying, so...
Maybe the Project X
Cooked your
producers
ass.
denied Corey as being the inspiration because it would look like they approve of this behavior, because it only took a few days after the film's release for a Project X-inspired party to turn deadly. On March 14, 2012, just 13 days after the film's initial release, 1,000 high school and college-age students in Houston, Texas attempted to recreate the events of Project X, but it turned deadly. It was being advertised as a foam party with promises of free alcohol and drugs. Women who wore bathing suits were granted free entry to the party, according to the flyer. Around 12:30 a.m., police responded to a noise disturbance at a foreclosed mansion in southern Houston. Upon arrival, arrival, they encountered hundreds and hundreds of teenagers scattered all over the property,
Damn.
using drugs and drinking illegally. Doing what needed to be done to keep everyone safe, police had to break up the party and started dispersing the crowd. As people made their way off the property, tensions escalated, leading to an eruption of gunfire, which tragically killed 18-year-old Ryan Spikes. Witnesses of the murder later said, kids took to the streets, but the parking lot was overpacked so you couldn't get out. It was just people in the actual street. They got into arguments and started shooting each other. Another witness to the killing had this to say: the gunman was just walking, and he pulled out a gun and started shooting, like for no reason. He shot the boy in the back of the head and he fell on the ground. He started shooting at the crowds, but then he ran through the field. Police chased the shooter through the field and into the woods, but lost him in the dark. After 4 months of a relentless investigation, they finally found the gunman. 22-year-old John Gibbs was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Crazy enough, there was another Project X party in the same city just 4 days before. 13 teenagers who planned the party broke into a brand new $500,000 home that was recently built, which they used to host an absolutely massive 2,000-person party. During the party, the insane crowd broke nearly every window in the home, put holes in almost every wall, ripped doors completely off the hinges, and left empty bottles of liquor everywhere. Among the bottles, sheetrock was across the floor mixed with the glass. All of this destruction managed to cause a grand total of $100,000 in damage.
Shit was just built,
the building
too.
owner
These
compared
niggas
it
are
to being
big
hit by a
heads.
tornado. What's mostly crazy about this particular party is that the host may have gotten away with it if it wasn't for a private investigator named Mark Stevens. Mark Stevens was hired by the builder of the home that was destroyed to investigate who threw the damaging party. When asked about the incident, he said,
"Look at what happened here. The parallels are just uncanny. It was a copycat. They did everything they saw in the movie."
The day after the party, Mark came back to the home to investigate, and at the time, Mark noticed another empty mansion down the street was having a party. Suspecting it was the same host, Mark called the police, and the group of 13 responsible for setting up the original party were taken into custody.
Damn.
When asked why they did it, they simply said Project X. But on the exact same night chaos ensued
Niggas don't
in
even be having
Houston,
valid reasons.
Calgary, Canada nearly witnessed the same disaster. Calgary high schooler Hunter Mills tweeted that Project Chris, a Project X-style party, would be hosted at his buddy Chris Morey's house. Hashtag Project Chris went viral on Twitter, trending in Australia, Asia, and the Middle East.
What the fuck?
Luckily, the party was called off due to an overwhelming amount of interest, but it actually ended up getting moved to a new location, a bar, and eventually about 200 people showed up to this bar, but the venue had to close for the night because they couldn't handle the overwhelming amount of people. But while being interviewed on the local news, Hunter Mills showed up in a custom t-shirt with the hashtag Project Chris printed on the front. This was not the last time a hashtag would lead to a party's
That nigga
downfall.
V-neck is fucking
Hashtag
crazy.
Ross Morgan Rager blew up on Twitter in May of 2012 after a student from North Allegheny High School in Pittsburgh was planning to throw a party. His buddies tweeted the hashtag Ross Morgan Rager, and within hours it was trending internationally. Word spread throughout the entire city within hours, and every kid in Pittsburgh was planning on attending the party. In the following days, high school teachers were ordered to read this email aloud to their classes. Bottom line, there is no party at Ross's house. The local police are aware of the rumor.
Wow.
Ross's parents are
These
aware
niggas
of the
shutting that
rumor.
hoe down
Every
before they
effort
even get
via
the
Twitter
chance.
has and continues to be made to expose the rumor as a hoax. Ross Morgan and his parents had to vacate their house for the weekend, and they even had to hire an off-duty police officer to watch the house while they were gone. But Ross secured his legacy when he went on the local news to praise his classmates.
What it has done for the school is truly amazing. Everyone now is now friends, which what we thought wouldn't happen with less than 20 days left of our senior year. It has brought us all together.
I'm sure by now you're
Wow.
noticing a trend of all these parties following
Disney-
the same
Disney
exact
Channel
plot as
ass
the
ending,
movie.
boy.
Someone wants to throw a party and their buddy spreads the word via text or social media. Then it gets out of hand. But the key part is getting on the local news afterwards, just like the movie, to certify your legacy. However, for this Utah teen, her interview on the news wasn't celebratory because her party led to 5 people being gunned down. In March of
Damn.
2012, 16-year-old Destiny McCubbin's parents were going out of town and she decided to take the opportunity to host a party. She was quoted saying she wanted the party to be like Project X. The North Salt Lake City, Utah teen said goodbye to her parents on Friday night and she invited around 50 people to her house. Then 170 showed up. Neighbors complained, but only asking her to keep the noise down. Little did Destiny know members of the Norteños gang showed up at her party. Their rivals, the Eastside Longos, heard the Norteños were at the party and decided to confront them. Destiny tried her best to prevent the situation from escalating, and when she opened the front door to ask them to leave, things nearly got deadly.
And as soon as I opened the door, they just started shooting. This guy just started shooting and it hit me in the foot.
As Destiny sat on the floor bleeding profusely from her foot, she said, "I was just in shock. I couldn't believe what was going on. And everybody was
Niggas
running.
always
It
bring
was all
beats
my
to
fault.
parties.
I shouldn't have thrown this stupid party." 3 of the victims were treated at the hospital and released shortly afterwards, but a 4th person was more seriously injured. Evan Ward, a 19-year-old, was shot in the throat but miraculously survived.
Wow.
A month later, Clearfield City
felt like
Police
Larice.
announced that they had arrested 2 shooters, 19-year-old Mark Anthony Pisana, a Norteños gang member, and a 15-year-old boy who was a Eastside Longos gang member. However, the closest anyone ever came to replicating Project X was called Project P, which took place in Macosa County, Michigan.
That's the name of G
ending
Herbo
with the
album,
most
right?
memorable post-party interview of them all. The Project P Facebook page was created in July of 2014. 5 days before the event, a promotional flyer was posted that read, "Prepare for the craziest event of your lifetime," with the host names as well as a parking fee of $3 per car. This party was set to take place in Hinton Township, Michigan, which can be described as literally the middle of nowhere. There is not even a gas station in this town, but the power of the internet prevails, and a total of around 2,000 people, mostly under the age of 21, showed up to the farmhouse about 2 hours outside of Detroit. The party was equipped with DJs playing live sets, a fire thrower, and exotic dancers. Since the party was in a rural area, noise wasn't an issue. No neighbors were around to complain. Police were actually called out to the scene for a traffic complaint, and cars parked in the roadway. But then, the 911 calls got more serious.
He has no fault. Everyone knows he's ODA. He's on heroin. You guys need to come out here now. I have no idea who this guy is.
We just talked to somebody that's having a heroin overdose, and they're putting him in a vehicle and taking him out. Are they not?
No, he's not in a car right now.
The person called again saying,
Just called about the guy who was overdosing. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to get people to help me get him out, and no one will help me.
Okay, then
so whenever the ambulance gets here, like
my ambulance can't get there. There's too many people.
Unfortunately, the dispatcher couldn't even help them. Although it's easy to criticize law enforcement and public safety officers, a remote town like this is not equipped with the resources to service this many people. And the road being blocked just made it that much harder. After the event, 6 people had to be hospitalized from drug and alcohol overdoses, and 1 man broke his neck after falling off the roof.
Goodness.
As if it couldn't get any worse, there was a report of 4 men carrying off 1 girl and taking turns assaulting her.
Wow.
Police arrested 3 of the organizers named Daniel Mincer, the birthday boy, Brittany Johnson, the social media promoter, and James Taylor, the homeowner. In the state of Michigan, they have what is called a social host liability law. The law states anyone who provides or sells alcohol to a minor can be held criminally liable. However, they can also be held civilly liable. If a minor who was served alcohol causes someone's injury or death, the person who served them can be held responsible for compensating the injured for their damages. So if someone leaving the party as a drunk driver smashes their car into someone's home, the host of the party can be criminally charged. Also, another law that actually landed the 3 in custody was that they were collecting money for parking and serving alcohol. When you collect money and serve alcohol without a liquor license, that is a crime in Macosa County, Michigan. Despite all the repercussions the host faced, he did not seem to care at all.
I didn't force anything down anybody's throat. I didn't make anybody stay here until 7 a.m. or 11 or whenever it is everybody finally left. I didn't make this kid pass out on my floor. People wanted to be here. That was their decision. And if you're a parent that's got a 14-year-old child that's been able to be at my house all night, and according to the police, there was a lot of them here. So I think some parents should do some reflections on their parenting before they start getting mad at me.
You say to anyone who says you're responsible.
I am. It's my house. You gotta deal with it afterwards, but apparently it was worth it.
And just like in the movie, he received nothing but a slap on the wrist. After taking a plea deal, he does not have a felony on his record. He just has to perform 80 hours of community service.
This nigga
Our
is
expectations
crazy.
for the morality and decision-making skills of teenagers are way too high. Teenagers are easily manipulated and often make mistakes. Now, is Project X to blame for these parties? Probably. But the media outlets are just as guilty. These news outlets spend all of their time comparing the parties to the movies and love pointing their moral superiority finger at the kids. But clearly they never finished watching the film, because they still fell into the trap of inviting the teenage host onto the news. And the reason they invite the host on is because they need to. They profit off delinquency, crime, and hide it under the guise of it being news. But in reality, they want this stuff to happen so they can boost their ratings and make money. These kids throwing these parties are clearly not trying to hurt anyone, nor are they trying to cause chaos. But their dumb teenage brain told them that this will make them a legend. And for a lot of them, kind of worked, because their post-party interview on the local news cements them in history as one of the most epic party throwers of all time.
That is
This
facts.
movie even inspired me to make a Project X style song and music video. It's called Party Crasher, so go check out the video and let me know what you think.
For decades now,
Shout out
nay,
past EC,
for
but
centuries.
last time I checked the nigga music out, shit blew me.